Welcome back to Palatable Politics, a show where we take the complexity out of politics and make it palatable for you. With me, your host, TJ Maslela. Welcome to the show. Today's show, we're going to be discussing something close to our hearts, something that has affected all of us, Palestine. We know our history and we know what's happening there, but to give us more insight, understanding as to what's happening now and how we got there is the Ambassador of Palestine, Ms. Hanan Jarrar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting me in such testing times for Palestinians and for the humanity.
So before you walk us into what's happening there, can you give us a bit of background as to who we're talking about, who we're talking to, your journey, how you got into politics, and as ambassador to SA?
Well, it was a long journey. I can say that it was the journey of joy and suffering, because to work in politics is something difficult, but for Palestinians and for a Palestinian woman is even more difficult. I want to share something about myself as a human being, as a woman, as a Palestinian woman. I've never been into a normal life ever. Only I was born and I was raised. I went to college and then I got married. I have kids. My kids went to school and college, all in a very abnormal situation, because I was born, and till now I'm still with my country Palestine under the Israeli occupation. So it's like you are born under an apartheid regime and you have all your life under an apartheid regime. You never felt that it's normal. Maybe for me it was a normal situation because I've never seen something else or something different. The only way that for us as Palestinians to feel that we are free is when you travel outside Palestine. And even this is something very difficult and limited, because the Israeli occupation for 7 decades, they have been controlling our skies, our lands, our crossing borders. So it's difficult to experience the freedom. In this context, we are Palestinians, and myself as part of this big nation, we invest in ourselves, in our education. That's why I went to college. I graduated in English language and literature. Then I joined in 1996. I joined the Palestine Liberation Organization offices. They were coming new to Ramallah because they were in exile. And with the peace process in Oslo Accord, signing the Oslo Accord that took place in 1994, and with the Palestine Liberation Organization as a revolutionary movement came from exile to Palestine, it was like a dream to establish our own independent state, because we engaged in the Oslo peace process, which was the first step in exploring the possibility of establishing an independent Palestinian state. So I joined there with a big passion that I want to materialize this state. And then I started to go from one department in the Palestine Liberation Organization into another. And then I joined the Ministry of Women's Affairs at some point. Then I left and I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2009. And there I found my full potential, that diplomacy and disseminating the Palestinian narrative, I found it's like a passionate thing that I feel that I wanted to do. And since ever I've been working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and until I became an ambassador, and this is my first post.
Okay.
And I thank God, yes, and I thank God that it was South Africa, because we share a lot with South Africa, and our experience and your experience are more related and relevant, let's say. And here, to be honest, I feel home away from home, and it has been like 4 years now for me here, but it's the best journey that I have been in.
No, thank you, and we're welcome to have you.
Thank you.
Now, coming back to what's happening in Palestine, we understand that there's been invasion, there's been conflict for a while, but it seems something happened on the 7th of October where it reignited. What happened from the 7th and what's been happening till date? Now, what's the current status?
Well, now everyone is overwhelmed in the news, in the media, especially the mainstream media, about what's going on in Palestine, especially since the 7th of October, when Hamas resistance movement, they start defending the Palestinian population against the Israeli aggression. As you mentioned, it has been a long process. The 7th of October 2023 is not the beginning of a war. No, it's like one station in the 7 decades of the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian people. Because Israel occupied Palestine in 1948, and they came from Europe and from different parts of the world with a premise by Balfour Declaration to establish a national state for the Jewish people. And when they came, exactly like the South Africans, they welcomed the white people when they came. We also welcomed them because we considered them in Palestine as refugees. And Palestinians are Arabs and Christians and Muslims. They welcome these refugees coming from Europe, especially after all the atrocities that has been done for them by the Nazis and different groups in Europe. Unfortunately, this was not the case. The Israelis or the Jewish gangs start to kill the Palestinian people. They managed to uproot more than 750,000 Palestinians from their homeland and scatter them in refuge all over the world. According to this, the UNRWA, which is the United Nations Work and Relief Agency, was created to support the Palestinian refugees. And these 700,000 Palestinians scattered in refuge were denied access again to Palestine. And instead, the Israelis, the Jewish people, came, took their home, their lands, and occupied the whole area of Palestine, which was at that time under the British mandate. At that time, Palestine was under the British mandate because it was called like a state, even the British mandate was called like a Class A mandate because Palestine was a state. It needs only some support to be a full state. And since ever, the 1948 up till now, we have been subjected to all kinds of aggression and oppression, occupation, expansionist occupation, grabbing of Palestinian land for the sake of settlement enterprise, killing Palestinian people on daily basis, raiding their homes, their cities, their towns, suffocating them into small bantustans. So until what happened of course, we had different wars, we had a lot of atrocities, and Gaza alone, where the latest event took place, has been subjected to blockade, for more strict blockade by the Israeli occupation since 16 years. Nobody can go out, nobody can go in, nothing can go out, nothing can go in unless the Israelis allow to, and it's very difficult. So people were suffocating in a small area, 360 kilometers, that accommodate 2.2 million Palestinians. Gaza in the world is known to be like the biggest open air prison because it has that much of people and suffocated into small area. So this is the situation. From these atrocities and from this tragedy the Palestinians are living since 7 decades, we have Hamas as a resistance movement. According to international law and according to the international humanitarian law and Geneva Fourth Convention of 1949, all the people under occupation, they have the right to use all the methods in their hands for resistance, to defend themselves against the occupation. This is a right that is guaranteed by the international law. So this is what Hamas have done. I mean, decades of subjugation, of aggression, of apartheid regime against people just because of their ethnicity produces a resistance movement, and it's a normal consequence. But what the Israelis couldn't tolerate is that how come a small resistance movement destroy the image of the biggest army in the Middle East and the strongest army in the Middle East. That's why they start the reprisals and the collective punishment against the Palestinian people. Since the 7th of October till now, Israel admitted of dropping more than 6,000 bombs on that small area. Up to this moment, more than 5,300 people has been killed, more than 1,300 children among them. They are targeting basically women and children because they know that this is the strength of Palestinian people. They even, some of their ministers, they say that we will target Palestinian women because they bring to life small terrorists, which are the children. So this gives you like an idea about the mentality of this terrorist state, I would call it. Up to this moment, more than 15,000 Palestinians have been injured. They have been targeting civilian infrastructure, schools, mosques, churches. They have been targeting by bombing 2 important churches that were accommodating Palestinian Christians in Gaza. More than 500 people has been killed in these 2 incidents. So, targeting hospitals at the same time, more than 1,400,000 Palestinians have been displaced from their homes because of the targeting of civilian residents or schools or whatsoever, and they were giving order to evacuate from one part, the north part of Gaza, to go to the south part of Gaza in an open call from the Israeli government for transfer. They want to take Palestinians outside the borders of their home land. All these atrocities, according to international law and according to humanity, are called genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing. And unfortunately, this leads us to another angle, the position of the international community. We can see a hypocritic international community. US, European leaders, they have been flying over, coming to Israel to show their support, as if Palestinians are have no right in dignity or have no right in decent life. They have been talking about the right of Israel of defending itself against Hamas, which is they label it as a terrorist group, which is in fact the right, because we remember, all of us remember that ANC, when they started, they were labeled as a terrorist organization. Madiba himself was labeled as a terrorist person until just a few years before he died, until 2008. So it's there, like the international community hypocrisy that is dealing with the situation. That's why we see that campaign to cover this issue, not because of the Palestinian blood that is shed, but because the Western community believe that they should defend the Israelis in their right to defend themselves. But what we are witnessing is not Israel defending itself. Otherwise, their targeting will be at least accurate. On the contrary, they are bombing everything that is moves, and the target is not the accuracy. The target is to cause damage, is to burn the land, to cause the maximum casualties among the Palestinian people. Like, we can talk about more than 50 Palestinian families that has been wiped out completely from the civil registry, which means that the surname is not there anymore because they have been targeting complete families like many families with 5, 6, 10, 20, you know, we have big families, 20 members that has been wiped out completely because of targeting the residential places, and people, they have no place to go. Like I told you, it's a very small area, and where are they going to go? And they will not go out because of our history. We are traumatized of the experience of going out, of refuge, not being able to come back again to our home. So people start to prefer dying in their homes, inside their homes, rather than going out. And the situation is very catastrophic. I mean, there has been blockade, a complete blockade against bringing from the one and the only crossing border, Rafah border. It was closed. Israel bombed it so that no one can enter from outside or bring any kind of humanitarian assistance for the Palestinian people.
So how are they getting by now with regards to aid, food, water?
Only like before 2 days, there has been 40 trucks allowed to come in. Only after the Israel strict checking on what's on it. Mainly it is humanitarian assistance, like mainly food, potable water, because the Israel Minister of Defense announced that there will be the second day of these events, yes, of the bombing. He announced that there will be no electricity, no food, no fuel, and no water will be allowed to come in. So the situation is catastrophic. More than 12 hospitals have been completely stopped because there is no fuel to run electricity, no potable water, which puts the medical situation on the verge of collapse. This is the situation. We hope that humanitarian situation will get better by entering more and more of humanitarian assistance. But unfortunately, like 2 days ago, there has been a peace summit in Cairo. Okay. Just to open horizons for ceasefire, for opening humanitarian corridors so that medication and food and water can come in. Unfortunately, it didn't reach any point because the Western countries refuse to ask for ceasefire unless Hamas free all the hostages that they have. And of course, this will need to nowhere, because like mutual things are mutual interest. And if you don't put regard to humanitarian situation, why others would put?
So we understand that the Israel government they're trying to wipe out the Palestine people, but what do they want? What's the end goal? What are they trying to achieve?
This is something that we do not know. Even themselves, they do not know. They want to please their electoral base, and it's always the Palestinian blood who pay the price. It's the same as with the Americans. You know, the Americans, the Western countries, they act like warmongers. They come to support a campaign against Palestinian civilians. And up to this moment, they are supporting this campaign. They say no ceasefire, no entering of humanitarian assistance until Hamas release all the hostages. And that's why we cannot find there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But what we say is that the equation is easy. Live and let others live. Ceasefire. Allow Palestinians to live freely in their homeland, end the Israeli occupation, end the Israeli apartheid regime. We need the international community to hold accountable the Israeli ministers, the Israeli prime minister, for committing war crimes, for committing genocide against the Palestinian, for committing massacres against the Palestinian people. And this leads us to the hypocrisy that they were talking about, especially in dealing with other similar situations around the world, like the Ukraine-Russian issue. The same lady who is the head of she's the High Commissioner of the European Union. At one point, she was saying that punishment or collective punishment against civilians and children by not giving them electricity, food, water is a war crime against humanity. This, unfortunately, according to her standards, doesn't apply to Palestinians. So that's why we start to lose faith in the international community, except for our friends who are solid and strong, like the South Africa, Namibia, other friends around the world, and we have a lot. We have a lot because also we saw a lot of demonstrations taking place in the streets.
Oh, like this past Friday or so, there was...
Yes, no, in South Africa, it's like overwhelming. The solidarity, the support is really overwhelming. Like we see all the political spectrum, unless like DA and some other parties that are fully supporting, unfortunately, Israel. But the rest of political parties, they picked for Palestine, different solidarity organizations, the government, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the President. In South Africa, it's an overwhelming support, and it's not strange. I mean, South Africa has been there before. They have been under an apartheid regime, and they know exactly what does it mean to be under oppression and under aggression, to experience the atrocities of a colonial regime.
Hats off to government and everyone that's gotten involved in supporting Palestine and showing. So hats off to us there. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the other international community, with West, etc. Why do you think it is that when Russia invaded Ukraine, there were sanctions, there were outcries, but now when Israel invades Palestine, there are countries that come out and say, we're willing to aid, or we're in support of Israel, or some just keep quiet. Why do you think there's that hypocrisy, or what's the base of it?
First of all, because of the biological relationship between Israel and the Western countries. Israel is an imperialist project. It was created by the Western countries. Israel is not a normal state. It's a state that has been created. It's the one and the only state in the world that has been created by a resolution of the United Nations, which is the Partition Resolution number 181 of 1947. And it was created, and we all know who controls the UN bodies, the Security Council, the resolutions. So it is a Western creation, and it's an imperialist entity. This is what Israel is. And US, European countries, and their allies, they are colonial powers. So the relation between the two is very biological relationship, like, let's say, this is at one side. On the other hand, the Western countries, they want someone like an eye or an ear for them in the Middle East to watch the Arab countries, because, you know, they are like strangers in the middle of a total, complete, cohesive fabric. Israel is the only country that considers itself Western country in the Middle East, in the area of an Arab. So the imperialist countries and Europeans and US, they want someone for them, like an arm or a leg in the area. That's why they created Israel at the beginning, at the first time. And if it wasn't Israel, they will create something else. That's why also they are more and more focused on the issue of normalization with Arab countries, because they want Israel to be condoned in a geographical area that it doesn't belong to. to make it easier for their colonial project to have its setting. And racism, we do believe that it's the major cause for the atrocities that is happening now. When you describe Palestinians as human animals, they say that we are facing human animals. Then they see us as less humans than the Israelis, who are considered Westerns. The same with Ukraine. They say that at the beginning of Ukrainian crisis, we saw people say that no, they don't deserve to be dying because they are white and they have like blue eyes. It's pure racism. When you see others less than others, when you see because of ethnicity or because of color or because of whatsoever reason, this is racism. So we have to be, like, as young generation, they have to be aware of what's going on, because this is the reality and we cannot change it. And the international community, who are always advocating for human rights, we saw their position from human rights. Their position, human rights is selective. You apply it to certain people when you feel that they are coming to your interest, and you deny it on other people because you feel that they just don't deserve.
One of the solutions that's been put out there is the two-state solution. Can you break that down? What does that mean?
This two-state solution is the best solution that has been put on the table up to this moment. And of course, it's not viable anymore. It's not working anymore. But it started in the early 90s when there was like an agreement to achieve or to proceed in the peace process. We engage as Palestine Liberation Organization into this peace process because we are a peace-loving nation. We do not want to stay under occupation. We want to live in normal and peaceful atmosphere and dignity, which is the most important thing for Palestinians. Like all other human beings, like all others, we want like our own state. And it was agreed, we referred back again to the partition resolution or the partition plan, and we agreed to have 23% of mandatory or historical Palestine to establish the Palestinian state on it. 23%, because this is what we have given at the partition plan and what we still have living in that area, which is the area that comprises West Bank, East Jerusalem and Gaza. And the rest of the map is the Israeli state. We agreed to engage into that peace process, abandoning like 70-80% of historical Palestine, since Israel is established there, and we believe that we can live with them in peace, dignity and security. So the two-state solution is that peaceful solution that enables the Palestinians, after decades of occupation, to have their own independent state on 23% of their historical map of Palestine. We engaged in that process in good faith, and at that time in the 90s there was Rabin, who also from the Israeli side engaged with the Palestinian people in good faith. And we recognized the state of Israel, unfortunately, in 1993. Unfortunately, till now, Israel is not recognizing Palestine, is not recognizing the state of Palestine. After 4 years of the peace accord, the Israeli fanatic regime, they assassinated Rabin, the one who initiated the peace process.
They felt that he was abandoning, or he was selling out.
He was a traitor because he's giving this land that they believe all Palestine should be their land, part of the Israeli state. That's why after that, after like 4 or 5 years, everything was blocked, and we started to have, every time we reached to a certain stage of negotiation, the Israelis will block it, of course, backed by the international community, because nobody believed that they can control Israel, not only politically, but also logistically on the ground. When we started the Oslo process, or to establish the Palestinian state, the number of Israeli settlers was 120,000 settlers inside the land of Palestine. Now, after 30 years of this peace process, we have more than 800,000 Israeli settlers inside the Palestinian land. And this took place gradually with the objective of blocking any possibility to have a viable Palestinian state. Now, Palestinians living in West Bank, in Gaza, and East Jerusalem, they are living into small cities, fantostans, that if you want to go from one place to another, you have to have a permit. Your identity, my identity card is green. The people living in Jerusalem is blue. The people living in Gaza is another color. So now it's a total apartheid regime where the Palestinians are living in after 30 years of the two-state solution. The world peace is become a synonym for death for Palestinians. It's becoming the same as grabbing their land on daily basis for the sake of settlements. And we know that settlements are illegal according to international law. Settlers are people, Jewish people or Israelis, who choose to live in the Palestinian land just for the sake of expelling Palestinians from their own land, bringing them to live in settlements. And this is, according to international law, is also a war crime and is prohibited, because you uproot the indigenous people from their homeland, scatter them away, and bring others to live in their homes and make benefits of their resources. So this is the story of the two-state solution. It's not viable anymore, but we don't have any other option but to stick to it, because it was the one and the only solution.
That was viable.
And that was backed by the international community. Because now you need the support of the international community so that you can pressurize Israel, you can materialize what you want. Otherwise, nothing will be solved.
What's the way forward now? What if you say there's no way forward? Like what's supposed to happen now? If
the way forward is very easy. We have to end the Israeli occupation, not to find political horizon. We have to end that occupation. We have to bring that apartheid regime into an end. We need the international community, the solidarity of the international community, the support of the international community to achieve this. We need the international community and the people of the world to hold the Israeli government accountable for its deed against Palestinians, for the atrocities, for the genocidal war, for the war crimes, for the ethnic cleansing. The equation is easy, as I mentioned before. Live and let others live. You cannot plant hatred, suppression, aggression, and then you want to harvest peace and love. It doesn't work like this.
What can our viewers, everyone, do to help support the Palestine movement, the cause?
First of all, I would like to salute South Africans, especially the young generation, who I encourage them to be aware of what's going on in the world. Political education is very much important. Know what's going on around, especially that the experience of South Africa is very relevant and very close to what's happening to Palestine now. We need their support and we need their solidarity by two things. First of all, mass mobilization. Whenever there is a picket, whenever there is a way to show solidarity, be there, be present. Disseminate the Palestinian narrative. Know what's going on and disseminate the Palestinian narrative. The Palestinian story, which is very, very relative to the story of your parents and grandparents who lived under the Israeli apartheid regime. Take sides, don't be silent, and don't be shy of the truth. Say what you know, stand beside the truth. You have strong platforms. The social platforms are very much important. Influencers, bloggers, raise your voice, stand beside the truth. This will help Palestinians a lot. Visibility. Visibility is very much important tool to show. Now we see the world like divided by supporters of Palestine, supporters of Israel. Show your colors, because neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Neutrality and silence in these circumstances will support the aggressor and never support the people under aggression. So support us, because we have to remember as Africans and as South Africans in particular, that in the 70s and 60s, when the continent was colonies, it was the international solidarity and the international support, like Cuba supporting them, boots were in the ground. Palestine Liberation Organization supported the ANC in training, in money, in weapons. Many other revolutionary movements supported the liberation movements in Africa. That's why Africa now is independent states. It's because of the solidarity. We in the South Hemisphere, we have everything. The South-South, we have to strengthen that formula, the South-South formula, the South-South cooperation, because we have everything. We have the human capital, we have the natural resources, and we have the brains and the minds. All what we need is a strategy that puts us together to stand up in the face of the colonization, the indirect colonization that we're still suffering from right now. This is my message to the youngsters. Read, educate yourself. Political education is so much important, and I'm sure your consciousness will choose the right path.
Where can we go to find out more information? Are there any websites, links that...
Yes, we have the website of the embassy, and we have the Facebook of the embassy, the Twitter of the embassy. Maybe we can give it to you and you can disseminate also.
Okay, guys, it's here.
They can read. I mean, the Palestinian cause is very strong when it comes to literature. We have a lot of people has been writing about this since 1948 or even before. So just Google.
Okay, all right.
Palestinian cause and everything will be there, and I'm sure you can get the right information. Anyone is needed anything, our embassy here is open for anyone, and we have like a good team that work on media and work on also good diplomats, and we are open.
Guys, for your benefit, in the bio we're going to put a few websites where you can get more information, and also including the contact details of the embassy, how you can reach out if you have any ideas, any support that you want to pledge, etc. But Ambassador, thank you very much for educating us and having us, and we'll reach out if we'd like a further update, but also feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much again for hosting us in such difficult times. Your thoughts and prayers are needed and heard, and hopefully that this genocidal war against the Palestinians will stop as soon as it can, so that we can give hope to people. As in dark moments like these, it's very difficult for us.
Guys, you've heard. Share your hopes, prayers, thoughts, keep them with the people of Palestine. Yeah, and when you're done, like, subscribe, share. Let's get this content out. Let's help educate each other. Until next time, see you.